Hello. So, this is the Book of Enoch, picking it up from chapter 12. Before all these things, Enoch was concealed, nor did any one of his sons, nor did any one of the sons of men know where he was concealed, where he had been, and what had happened. He was wholly engaged with the holy ones, and with the watchers in his days. I, Enoch, was blessing the great Lord and King of peace. And behold, the watchers called me Enoch the scribe. Then the Lord said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go tell the watchers of heaven who have deserted the lofty sky and their holy everlasting station, who have been polluted with women, and have done as the sons of men do, by taking to themselves wives, and who have been greatly corrupted on the earth, that on the earth they shall never obtain peace and remission of sin. For they shall not rejoice in their offspring. They shall behold the slaughter of their beloved, and shall lament for the destruction of their sons, and shall petition forever, but shall not obtain mercy and peace. So this was God's judgment to the angels. And he told Enoch about this, right? Then Enoch, passing on, said to Azazel, Thou shalt not obtain peace. A great sentence is gone forth against thee. He shall bind thee, neither shall relief, mercy, and supplication be thine, on account of the oppression which thou hast taught. So they taught oppression, and on account of every act of blasphemy, tyranny, and sin, which thou hast discovered to the children of men. Then departing from him, I spoke to them all together, and they all became terrified and trembled. So these angels were terrified and they were trembling, they were shaking. Interesting, right? These angels actually felt fear when this was happening. Those are heavy words coming from heaven, but they're coming through Enoch. And it's saying that Enoch was concealed. No one knew where he was. So while he was living on earth, he was living in a parallel realm on earth, beseeching me to write for them a memorial of supplication, that they might obtain forgiveness, and that I might make the memorial of their prayer send up from before the God of heaven, because they could not themselves thenceforth address him, nor raise up their eyes to heaven on account of their disgraceful offense for which they were judged. Then I wrote a memorial of their prayer and supplication, for their spirits, for everything which they had done, and for the subject of their entreaty, that they might obtain remission and rest. Proceeding on, I continued over the waters of Dan Ba Dan, which is on the right the worst of Armon, reading the memorial of their prayer until I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions appeared above me. I fell down and saw a vision of punishment, that I might relate it to the sons of heaven, and reprove them. When I awoke, I went to them, and being collected together, stood weeping in Obel Seyael, which is situated between Libanos and Senesar, with their faces veiled. I related in their presence all the visions which I had seen and my dream, and began to utter those words of righteousness, providing the watchers of heaven. This is the book of the words of righteousness and the reproof of the watchers. So wait, he is having a dream. I continued over the waters, and I wrote a memorial, right? And then when he was writing this, continued over the waters of Danaban, he went to a certain place, which is on the right to the west of Armon. Remember Armon, that hill, which is armor and monster, reading the memorial of their prayer until I fell asleep. So he fell asleep and he had a dream. So let's go over the dream. And visions appeared above me. I fell down and I saw a vision of punishment, that I might relate it to the sons of heaven. So he saw them getting punished, and he understood through the dream that he was supposed to tell them about that. So this is a prophetic dream, and it's happening in a certain place at a certain time to a person who lives in a parallel realm in the world. So these physical places are where he is physically, but what he's experiencing physically is supernatural, because this part of the book starts with telling us that he was concealed. So he's concealed, but they're telling us where he was, even though he was concealed. So he's seeing the revelation, and we are seeing his revelation. I fell down and saw a vision of punishment, that I might relate it to the sons of heaven and reprove them. When I awoke, I went to them. So he knew where they were. They were physically. All being collected together stood weeping. So they were crying. So they came from, like, they were trembling. They were crying now, physically. So they were weeping in Obeyasel. This is a physical place, which is situated between Labinos and Senesa, with their faces veiled. Veil. Let's look at this word veil. This is an interesting book, veil. All right. So I want to show you something with this veil, vela, velum. Something hung up or spread out to hide or protect the face, or hide an object from view. Okay. So a cover, a disguise, a mask, a pretense. You see. So the veil is a pretense. And when we scramble the words in veiled, in veil, we have EVIL. The same letters make veil, which is a mask of pretense. Evil, right, is evil, up, over, down, up, over, intending to harm, malevolent. So it's interesting, evil coming from up and down. They came up. All evil comes up and then it came down. And the evil is these veiled ones. Veiled, right? Which is veil. And when we had the D, the devil, this is them. They were veiled. So these are creatures of hell. The chief devil, veiled. Part of consciousness, the opposite of an angel, the opposers. So when it says here in the word that their faces veiled, this is interesting, to say the least. I related in their presence all the visions which I had seen and my dream. So they were crying, they were veiling their faces and everything. And he told them the dream to add on to what they were doing. And let's see, and began to utter these words of righteousness. So what we're going to hear are words of righteousness, reproving the watchers of heaven. So let's check it out. This is the book of the words of righteousness, and the reproof of the watchers who belong to the world. They belong to the world, really, according to that which he, who is holy and great, commanded in the vision. I perceived in my dream that I was now speaking with a tongue of flesh, and with my breath, which the Mighty One has put into the mouth of men, that they might converse with it. What a way to say what he just said. I perceived in my dream that I was now speaking with a tongue of flesh. So in his dream, you remember this whole section is going into this uh, theme of Enoch being veiled or concealed to everyone. And then it's also telling us that he went to a physical place, which is revealed. And then while he was in this revealed place, while he was concealed, he reveals what he is, he reveals what he is seeing, And he shows us in a revelation what is concealed to everyone else until now, because this is how the whole book starts, that these texts have been concealed, now they're revealed in the revelation. So when he sees these watchers who see, who reveal, he finds them concealed, right? And now he's saying that he was in the spiritual, in the dream, but that I was now speaking with a tongue of flesh. So while he's in the spirit, he starts to experience the flesh. While he was on earth, Enoch was in the flesh, but he was considered to be living in the spirit. And while he's in the spirit, he starts perceiving the tongue of flesh, starts perceiving his breath, which is interesting. I hope you got what I'm saying. That these opposites, the opposers, there's such a strong condensation of the theme of opposites, converse relationships, converse. Let's actually look at that. Converse. Converse, to talk, conversation, keep company, hold, intercourse, commune, follow with, to have knowledge of a thing, from a long intercourse, a study, discourse, interchange, thoughts or views. So when you converse, you interchange. It's opposite. Interchange, conversation, converting, convert energy. And this is it. The second meaning of converse, the etymology is turn around. Okay, convert, turn about. So opposite, reversed in order or relation. Reciprocal, the opposite or reverse. A lot of proposition or theorem of the form given that if A is true, then B is true, then if B is true, then A is true. Equivalently, given that all X's are Y's, then all Y's are X's. These plants, all trees are plants, but the converse, that all plants are trees, is not true. One of the pair of terms that name or describes a relationship from opposite perspectives. Converse and anatom, relation, anatom. Yes. So this whole theme, I hope you can get the converse, the conversation. This is about the relationship, the opposing perspectives. And when it opens, it gives us the perspective of his perception. People could not perceive him. Enoch was concealed. But conversely, he was revealed because he was physical. He's telling us physical mountains where he can physically go, where he was physically at. But people could not physically see him. Now he goes into the spiritual, and then he brings the physical with him, the converse. So, and then the mighty ones is put into my mouth of men that they might converse with. So here it's speaking about the power of words. So these words are conversations, they're converse. This is the sword. This is what we do war with. And these words, the word is what the book of words of righteousness is saying. So the book of words, words are swords. The S in the beginning will make sword when you take the words word. When you take the word words, yes, when you put the S in the beginning, you have a sword. So this is a sword of righteousness, converse, which slices into opposite pieces, division, which is discernment, discretion. Okay, so wow, there's so much packed into this one verse. So verse 2, and understanding with the heart, as he has created and given to men the power of comprehending the word of understanding, so has he created and given to me the power of reproving the watchers, the offspring of heaven. Wow. I have written your petition, and in my vision it has been shown me that what you request will not be granted you as long as the world endures. Judgment has been passed on you. your request will not be granted you. From this time forward, never shall you ascend into heaven. He has said that on the earth he will bind you, as long as the world endures. But before these things, you shall behold the destruction of your beloved sons. You shall not possess them, but they shall fall before you by the sword, says the word. Neither shall you entreat for them, nor for yourselves, but you shall weep and supplicate in silence the words of the book which I wrote. A vision thus appeared to me. Behold, in that vision clouds and a mist invited me. Agitated stars and flashes of lightning impelled and pressed me forwards, while winds in the vision assisted my flight, accelerating my progress. They elevated me aloft to heaven. I proceeded until I arrived at a wall built with stones of crystal. A vibrating flame surrounded it, which began to strike me with terror. Into this vibrating flame I entered. Okay, so they elevated me aloft into heaven. I proceeded until I arrived at a wall built with stones of crystal. A vibrating flame surrounded it, which began to strike me with terror. Into this vibrating flame I entered. Behold, in that vision, clouds and a mist invited me. Clouds and a mist invited me. How do you get invited by clouds and a mist? Agitated stars. Agitated stars. So were these stars alive? How big were they? How bright were they? How hot were they? Agitated stars and flashes of lightning impelled and pressed me forward. While he was invited, he was also pressed. So he was warped. Yeah, it's like warped. Because he's feeling opposite. Again, the theme comes again. He's feeling like invited, which is drawn in, but he's also feeling pressed or impelled, pushed forward, which is push and pull. He's feeling this, while winds in the visions assisted my flight. While he was, winds assisted him. So he's moving, he's moving, he's being sucked in, pushed forward, elevated high, and moving quickly and accelerating my progress. But he's like upgrading, progressing. So he's like entering a higher frequency, but he feels it. He feels it in his body. Push, pull, up. They elevated me aloft to heaven. So he entered and he was warped into heaven, right? They elevated me aloft to heaven. I proceeded. For how long? So he was moving at this like light speed, this quickened pace, and now he's in heaven. Wait, elevated me aloft to heaven. I proceeded until I arrived at a wall. So there's a wall built with stones of crystal. So this wall has crystal. What color crystal? Is it clear crystal? And then there's a vibrating. Does it make like a vibrating sound? So there's a vibrating flame surrounding it. Wait, this is dim. So they elevated me. A vibrating flame surrounded it, which began to strike me with terror. The flame. So a vibrating flame. I think it looks like how what electricity would look like. Like when, yeah, what electricity would look like if you could see it. Yeah. Strike me with terror. Into this vibrating flame I entered, and drew nigh to a spacious habitation. So he's in space, but he's in a spacious. So this is a very large place, built also with stones of crystal. Its walls, too, as well as pavement, were formed with stones of crystal, and crystal likewise the ground. Its roof had the appearance of agitated stars and flashes of lightning, and among them were cherubim of fire in a stormy sky. A flame burned around its walls, and its portal blazed with fire. A flame burned around its walls, and its portal, so there's a portal, blazed with fire. When I entered into this dwelling, it was hot as fire and cold as ice, opposites. No trace of delight or of life was there. No trace of delight or of life was there. Terror overwhelmed me, and a fearful shaking seized me. Can you imagine? No thing, nothing, no trace of delight or life. So, before we go forth, another word which is whole. No, nothing was there, entirely empty, which is interesting. Hale, interesting. Healthy, whole. So this comes from this, a whole, and this whole is hallow. Hallowed be your name, a hallow place, a cavity. All right, this is whole, a holy place. So he was in this very holy place, but he was fearful. Violently agitated and trembling, I fell upon my face. In the vision I looked, and behold, there was another habitation more spacious than the former, every entrance to which was open before me, erected in the midst of a vibrating flame. So greatly did I excel. And behold, there was another habitation more spacious than the former. So he entered it, right? And then while he's there, he entered into another place. Violently agitated and trembling, I fell upon my face. In the vision I looked, and behold, there was another habitation more spacious than the former, every entrance to which was open every entrance to which was open before me, erected in the midst of a vibrating flame. So this place was in the middle of a vibrating flame. What does a flame look like when it's vibrating? So greatly did it excel in all points, in glory, in magnificence, and in magnitude, that is impossible to describe to you either the splendor or the extent of it. Its floor was on fire, above were lightnings and agitated stars, while its roof exhibited a blazing fire. Attentively I surveyed it, and saw that it contained an exalted throne, the appearance of which was like that of frost, while its circumference resembled the orb of the brilliant sun, and there was the voice of the cherubim, the appearance of which was like a frost. So this throne was very outstanding. So attentively, interesting, attentively, I surveyed it. Because this is this is like, the way it was so great and excellent is indescribable with human words. So the floor was on fire. Above were lightnings and agitated stars. I like this saying agitated stars. This adjective, agitated stars, while this roof exhibited a blazing fire. A blazing fire. So this is a blazing fire, but not a vibrating fire. A roof that's a blazing fire. The floor that is on fire. The doors and everything is a vibrating fire. And the place is very hot and very cold. And in the first room, he felt no life. Here, I guess it's still holy. Attentively, I surveyed it and saw that it contained an exalted throne. So the throne is the most outstanding thing in this yes, in this place. The appearance of which was like that of frost. So the throne looked like frost, like white, almost cold, while its circumference resembled the orb of the brilliant sun. So cold and hot again. And there was the voice of the cherubim. Again, we see the cherubim. So the cherubim, let's just go back. Cherubim is very important. Flashes of lightning, and among them were cherubim of fire in a stormy sky. All right. And then there was the voice of the cherubim. So the voice of the cherubim. The voice of the cherubim. So I just want to make sure here he sees its roof appearance of agitated stars and flashes of lightning, and among them were cherubim of fire in a stormy sky. A flame burned around its walls, and its portal blazed with fire. When I entered into its dwelling, it was hot as fire, cold as ice. No trace of delight or of life was there. Terror. So here, no trace of delight or of life was there, although there was a cherubim in the room. I wonder why, because I would assume that the cherubim, which are angels, the cherubim of fire in the stormy sky, wouldn't they give delight or life in there? I would assume that, but that's interesting. But here he says, he heard again, there was the voice of the cherubim. From underneath this mighty throne, rivers of flaming fire issued. From under the throne, there's a river of flaming fire. So water and fire, opposites again. Interesting. But here it's now they are converted into something else, water and fire, which are generally opposed to each other, but here they're fused. To look upon it, it was impossible. Really. One great in glory sat upon it. So to look upon it, it was impossible. Because of the brilliance of the sun, the fear he felt, the cherubim voice, the fire throne, and to look upon it was impossible. Impossible. It was impossible for him to look upon it. This is why no one's seen God. And this is the story of Ham, that he saw his father's nakedness. And Ham is linked to Enoch. And looking, he saw it. He just saw the father's nakedness. You cannot look upon God. Anyway, one great in glory sat upon it, whose robe was brighter than the sun and whiter than snow. No angel was capable of penetrating to view the face of him, the glorious and the effulgent, nor could any mortal behold him. A fire was flaming around him. Whoa, I got to really make sure. This is interesting. Effulgent.
Effulgent. Effulgent.
Effulgent. Glittering, flashing, shining, resplendent, radiant. Her cheeks were colorless, yet they spoke of perfect health and shone with that same pale, effulgent glow. So, the glorious and the effulgent, no angel was capable of penetrating to view the face of him. Okay? The glorious. and the effulgent, nor could any mortal behold him. A fire was flaming around him. A fire also of great extent continued to rise up before him, so that not one of those who surrounded him was capable of approaching him among the myriads of myriads who were before him. Okay, so when I'm reading this, and I got the same impression when I was reading it the first time, that when he was seeing all of the angels around the throne, it seems like when he was seeing everything, it seems like it's almost like it's alive, like to mean that everything he's seeing is developing. At first, everything was empty and bare, but now, as things come to light, it's like he is revealed, like he sees more. He gets into an empty room, right? And all he can see at the first is a throne, and it's frosty, and it's fire, and then he sees a river, right? And then he sees a cherubim. So it's very progressive, like how he actually does realize his surroundings. It comes in stages, like he realizes in stages until he recognizes the brightest place. Now when he sees the robe brighter than the sun, whiter than snow, a robe, a robe that is brighter. So the type of clothes, the texture is not a color, it is existence, it is alive. The color is life, or is like a solar radiation. It is x-ray, it is like the beams of light are the clothes, and they are bright, they're white, they're clean, right? No angel, now they're angels all of a sudden, no angel was capable of penetrating to view the face of him, the glorious and the effulgent, nor could any mortal behold him. A fire was flaming around him, so he sees the angels and how they see him. A fire also of great extent continued to rise up before him, so that not one of those who surrounded him was capable of approaching him among the myriads. And now he begins to see myriads of myriads who were before him that he didn't see before. But because he sees the light, he can see other things because of the light. So as he's going into this, he is ignorant or dark. But then when the light begins to shine on him, he begins to see more with light. Because like now is like he can see. It's like being in a cave and having a torch. So when you have that torch, you see as that fire in the torch is burning. But the greater the fire, the more you see. So the greater the fires, the more he was seeing. And there's so much fire. To him, holy consultation was needless. Yet did not the sanctified who were near him depart far from him, either by night or by day, nor were they removed from him. I also was far advanced. Okay, so now he can actually perceive that this being does not need consultation. He could perceive the spirit that was binding these spirits around him. They were near him, yet did not the sanctified who were near him, sanctified spirits were around him, but they were always near him. They would never leave him. He could perceive that bond. He could see it. So it's like that spirit was even alive. So here is the place where life is life. Like everything is like it is impossible for him to explain the splendor. But doing his best, he's showing that there's like a greater life. All right, they do not depart from him either by night or by day, nor were they removed from him. I also was so far advanced. with a veil on my face. Again, that so you couldn't see a veil on my face. And trembling, when the Lord with his own mouth called me, saying, Approach hither, Enoch, at my holy word. Wow. And he raised me up, making me draw near even to the entrance. So, how did he raise him up? With his holy word. He raised him up from the throne. So, he has this power. And he has a voice and a mouth. So, he's physical. But his mouth is the fullest mouth. His voice is the fullest voice. He raised me up. He raised me up, making me draw near even to the entrance. My eye was directed to the ground, because he was just so holy. Then addressing me, he spoke and said, Hear, neither be afraid, O righteous Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice. Go say to the watchers of heaven who have sent thee to pray for them, You ought to pray for men, and not men pray for you. Wherefore have you forsaken the lofty and holy heaven, which endures forever, and have lain with women, have defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, have taken to yourselves wives, have acted like the sons of the earth, and have begotten an impious offspring? You, being spiritual, holy, and possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourselves with women, have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those who are flesh and blood do. These, however, die and perish. Therefore have I given to them wives, that they might cohabit with them, and sons might be born of them, and that this might be transacted upon earth. But you from the beginning were made spiritual, possessing a life which is eternal, and not subject to death forever. Therefore I made not wives for you, because being spiritual, your dwelling is in heaven. Now the giants who have been born of spirit and of flesh shall be called upon earth evil spirits, and on earth shall be their habitation. Evil spirits shall proceed from their flesh, because they were created from above. From the holy watchers was their beginning and primary foundation. Evil spirits shall they be upon the earth, and the spirits of the wicked shall they be called. The habitations of the spirits of heaven shall be in heaven, but upon earth shall be the habitation of terrestrial spirits, who are born of earth. The spirits of the giants shall be like clouds, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, contend, and bruise upon earth. They shall cause lamentation. No food shall they eat, but they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, veiled, devils, evil, and shall not rise up against the sons of men and against women, for they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. Here, I just want to read the last one. They shall cause lamentation, no food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and they shall not rise up against the sons of men. They shall not rise up against the sons of men and against women. Here, I want to read this. No food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and shall not rise up against the sons of men and against women, for they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. They shall not rise up against sons of men. Okay, because they need a host. Okay. And as to the death of the giants, wheresoever their spirits depart from their bodies, let their flesh, that which is perishable, be without judgment. Thus shall they perish until the day of the great consummation of the great world. A destruction shall take place of the watchers and the impious. And now to the watchers who have sent thee to pray for them, who in the beginning were in heaven. So here the first part is that he's just pronounced words, sentences, judgment on on the on the on the race of the giants, which is the children of the watchers. And he is saying that those are the bad spirits. Okay. And now to the watchers who have sent thee to pray for them, who in the beginning were in heaven. Say in heaven have you been. Say, in heaven have you been. Secret things, however, have not been manifested to you. Yet have you known a reprobated mystery. Yet have you known a reprobated mystery. And this you have related to women in the hardness of your heart. So it was revealed to women. This is how wisdom is a woman. And this you have related to women in the hardness of your hearts. And by that mystery have women and mankind multiplied evils upon the earth. Women and men, because every man comes from a woman. Say to them, never therefore shall you obtain peace. All right, and then this is section 4. They raised me up in a certain place where there was the appearance of a burning fire. And when they pleased, they assumed the likeness of men. They carried me to a lofty spot, to a mountain, the top of which reached to heaven. And I behold the receptacles of light and of thunder at the extremities of the place where it was the deepest. There was a bow of fire and arrows in the quiver, a sword of fire and every species of lightning. When they elevated me to a bubbling stream, and to a fire in the west which received all the setting of the sun, I came to a river of fire which flowed like water and emptied itself into the great sea westwards. I saw every large river until I arrived at the great darkness. I went to where all of the flesh migrate, and I beheld the mountains of the gloom which constitutes winter, and the place from which issues the water in every abyss. I saw also the mouths of all the rivers in the world, and the mouths of the deep. Then I surveyed the receptacles of all the winds, perceiving that they contributed to adorn the whole creation, and to perceive the foundation of the earth. I surveyed the stone which supports the corners of the earth. I also beheld the four winds which bear up earth, and the firmament of heaven, and I beheld the winds occupying the exalted sky, arising in the midst of heaven and of earth, and constituting the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds which turn the sky, which cause the orb of the sun and of all the stars to set, and over all the earth I saw the winds which support the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I perceived the extremity of the earth, the firmament of heaven above it. Then I passed on towards the south, where burnt, both by day and by night, 6 mountains formed of glorious stones, 3 towards the east, 3 towards the south. Those which were towards the east were of a variegated stone, one of which was of margarite, and another of antimony. Those towards the south were of red stone. The middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, a throne composed of alabaster, the top which was of sapphire. I saw too a blazing fire hanging over all the mountains, and there I saw a place on the other side of the extended territory where waters were collected. I likewise beheld terrestrial fountains deep in the fiery columns of heaven, and in the columns of heaven I beheld fires which descended without number, but neither on high nor in the deep, nor in these fountains also I perceived a place which had neither the firmament of heaven above it, nor the solid ground underneath it, neither was there water above it, nor anything on wing, but the spot was desolate. And there I beheld 7 stars like great blazing mountains, and like spirits entreating me. Then the angel said, this place, until the consummation of heaven and earth, will be the prison of the stars and the host of heaven. The stars which roll over fire are those which transgressed the commandment of God before their time arrived, for they came not in their proper season. Therefore was he offended with them, and bound them until the period of the consummation of their crimes in the secret year. All right. And we're gonna go over this later. All right. So I'm gonna stop here. Let's see. All right. No. Let's pick it up from section 5. So let's finish this. All right. So it says, then Uriel said, here the angels who cohabited with women appointed their leaders, and being numerous in appearance made men profane and caused them to err, so that they sacrificed to devils as to gods. For in the great day there shall be a judgment, with which they shall be judged until they are consumed. And their wives also shall be judged, who led astray the angels of heaven, that they might salute them. And saluting them, okay. And I, Enoch, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things, nor did any human being see it as I saw it. So this is where the Jews who wrote in Jude, which is the book before John writes Revelation. This is where the revelation actually does come from, comes from Enoch. So we knew the end. This is why in the end it would be like in the days of Noah. This is how Noah knew, because of Enoch. So Enoch is actually the greatest prophet, and this is evident in so many different ways. 20. These are the names of the angels who watch. Okay, great. Uriel, one of the holy ones who presides over clamor and terror. Raphael. Wait. Let's see. What's clamor? Clamor. Shout, cry. Clamo. Cry out, complain. Uriel. Okay. Uriel. Uriel. Let me see if the dictionary knows him. Uriel. So it says this is a Hebrew, an archangel in Judaism and Christianity. Unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even with the number of seeds is filled in you, for he has weighed the world in the balance. Here they didn't cite where in the Bible this is, and I wonder where in the Bible that is, unless if they're quoting from this book. Raphael, one of the holy angels who presides over the spirits of men. Let's see what we can find out about Raphael. Raphael. El is God, meaning God cures or God has healed spirits of men. The archangel in Christianity and Islam, Judaism and Islam. Italian Renaissance pater. Yeah, we know this guy from the Renaissance. Raphael. So he's named after the angel of the spirits of men, which is healing and curing. Raguel, one of the holy angels who inflicts punishment on the world and the luminaries, illuminated, the luminaries. Let's see first, Raguel, Raguel, Raquel. This is the closest we got. Raguel. So Raguel is unknown, but he punishes the luminaries. Luminary. So a luminary, lamp, source of spiritual light, example of holiness, glory, light fixture from luminaire, which gives light, light, lamp, body giving light, especially a heavenly body. From lumen, light men, light, brightness, forming, pertaining to one who has an inspiration to others, who has achieved success in their chosen field, a leading light, a body that gives light, especially one of the heaven bodies, artificial light, illumination, illusionists. So Raguel, one of the holy angels who inflicts punishment on the world, and the luminaries. The luminaries run the world. Illuminati. Michael, one of the holy angels who, presiding over human virtue, commands the nations. Presides over human virtue. Michael. Okay, no etymology here. Archangel associated with defending Israel in the tribulation. Okay. And in that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince that stands for the children of thy people. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. So the fight is already here in Enoch. Michael, one of the holy angels who, presiding over human virtue, commands the nations. Commands the nations. Sarakiel, one of the holy angels who presides over the spirits of the children of the men that transgress. Wow. Sarakiel. Sarakiel. It's virtually unknown. One of the holy angels who presides over the spirits of the children of the men that transgress. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who presides over Ikisat, over paradise, and over the cherubim. Okay. So Gabriel, archangel associated in Judaism for Christianity, carrying messages from God. Yeah, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, who I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto the city of Galilee named Nazareth. Okay, that's Gabriel. And this comes from this Gab, which is chatter, messenger, gob. All right, let's see. But here, Gabriel, one of the holy angels, presides over Ikisat. I don't know what that is. Ikisat. Okay, homework. That's homework. Ikisat. Over paradise. Paradise is parable, which is words, parable, parabolic. And over the cherubim. Interesting. I didn't know he presides over the cherubim. Okay. And I made a circuit to a place in which nothing was completed. What? And there I behold neither the tremorous workman, And there I beheld neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven, nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot prepared and terrific. Huh, weird, right? There too I beheld 7 stars of heaven bound in it together, like great mountains and like a blazing fire. I exclaimed, for what species of crime have they been bound, and why have they been removed to this place? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and who conducted me, answered, Enoch, wherefore dost thou ask, wherefore reason with thyself, and anxiously inquire? Enoch, wherefore dost thou ask, wherefore reason with thyself, and anxiously inquire? These are those of the stars which have transgressed the commandment of the Most High God, and are here bound until the infinite number of the days of their crimes be completed. From thence I afterwards passed on to another terrific place, where where I beheld the operation of a great fire blazing and glittering, in the midst of which there was a division. Columns of fire struggled together to the end of the abyss, and deep was their descent, but neither its measurement nor magnitude was I able to discover, neither could I perceive its origin. Then I exclaimed, how terrible is this place, and how difficult to explore! Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, Enoch, why art thou alarmed and amazed at this terrific place, at the sight of this place of suffering? This, he said, is the prison of the angels, and here they are kept forever. So this is the exploration of heaven and hell, up and down, opposites again, and is set for opposers. And we're going to stop here. Great. So we'll pick it up from section 4 next time. This was a very interesting session, and I really appreciate this. And yeah, so just do the homework again, and yeah, may God continue to bless you.